will now be on the record in 23 TR 2777, State of Kansas versus Anthony Edward Dubas. Jared Regier for the state. Is Mr. Dubas present? Anthony Dubas?
I am Anthony Edward Dubus. Dubus is the English pronunciation. Dubus is the original French. And I am appearing specially in propria persona, not pro se, as sui juris.
Okay, first of all, I can't see you, so you're not here.
Parents satisfied?
Thank you, sir. Now,
Absolutely.
as far as I need to go, well, I need you back here in person.
Okay, well, it's propria persona, not in person. I'm not the legal entity that you're claiming me to be.
All right, sir, if I can't get you on camera, you're not here.
I'm doing so right now. I'm just removing it as it's taped. It takes a while.
Now, the second order of business, let's get your name straight. I know a family with the same exact spelling in America, and they do pronounce it Dubus, but you said you pronounce it
Dubus,
Dubus?
as the original Dubus, as the original French. Yep.
All right, everyone. Today's case takes us to Kansas. And this one is a textbook sovereign citizen meltdown wrapped in confidence, misinformation, and pure legal fantasy. Our defendant walks into court convinced that pronunciation, punctuation, and obscure statutes magically exempt him from basic traffic laws. And sitting across from him? A judge who may sound calm and polite, but make no mistake, she has decades of experience and absolutely zero tolerance for nonsense. This is one of those cases where the defendant thinks he's cracked some secret legal code the rest of society is too blind to see. No license, no registration, no insurance. But somehow, in his mind, that's perfectly legal because he's traveling, not driving. What you're about to see is the slow, methodical dismantling of sovereign citizen mythology by a judge who's heard it all before. Watch closely, because every argument he makes has failed in court hundreds of times. And today,
correction, propria persona.
Well, in this court, it's in person. And
correction, in all courts, it may be either pro se, either appear in person, or propria persona.
Well, in my years of law school and nearly 40 years of practice, both as an attorney and a judge, it's been in person, and that's what I'm going with, sir. I believe that is just fine. So in any event, we will proceed with your charges. In count one, sir, you're charged with operating a motor vehicle on a highway of this state without having a valid driver's license pursuant to KSA 8-235A. In count two, it is alleged that on or about the 17th day of August, 2023, in Butler County, Kansas, you did then and there unlawfully operate or attempt to operate a motor vehicle, to wit, a 2003 Honda Accord, upon a highway of the state, to wit, 1700 block of East Foxdale Street, Andover, Butler County, Kansas, while the vehicle was not registered in violation of KSA 8-142. In count three, it is alleged that on or about the 17th day of August, 2023, in Butler County, Kansas, Anthony Edward Dubus,
Thank you, Myron,
unlawfully and intentionally drive a motor vehicle upon a public highway or property open to use by the public and failed to provide proof of insurance upon demand by a law enforcement officer. Now, sir, if you had insurance when you were stopped but just didn't have it with you or couldn't find it quickly, just provide proof to the county attorney and they'll most likely dismiss that charge. But if you really didn't have insurance, you're looking at a Class B non-person misdemeanor. The law does require a minimum fine if you're convicted of $300 up.
Here we go. The sovereign citizen opening move, the name game. Notice how much time is spent correcting pronunciation, insisting on Latin phrases, and distancing himself from the legal entity named in the case. This is a common tactic, and it's designed to derail proceedings before they even start. The idea is that if you can argue you're not the person named in the charging document, then the court somehow loses jurisdiction over you. But courts don't work like that. Judges don't care whether your last name is pronounced Dubus, Dubus, or dub whatever you feel like today. Identity is established through facts, not vibes. The judge immediately shuts this down in a calm but firm way. And that's important. She's signaling early. We're not doing word games today. This case will be decided on law, not
Of your choice, but if you cannot afford an attorney, you can apply and see if you qualify for a court-appointed attorney. You don't have to have an attorney, though. You can waive your right to an attorney and represent yourself. So that's an order of business we need to take care of today, is whether you want an attorney or not. And then another is to make sure that you understand what the charges are and the possible penalties. Do you have any questions for me about that?
Yeah, I don't understand the nature and cause of the charges. I have not had my accuser face me to bring the charges against me, as is a violation of due process. And I want to correct, for the record of the court, the named defendant is different than the named person, being myself. Hold on, let me make sure I get that in view of the camera. The named person here is different than the one named in the charges and the counts, being a difference of representation of who exactly it is the charges are against. And it is, to my belief and knowledge, that per KAR 8243 subsection A, exemption from the motor carrier safety regulations, A, the occasional transportation of personal property by private motor carriers that is not for compensation and is not in the furtherance of a commercial enterprise. I am exempt from these rules and regulations, and if I need to get a USDOT number to show that I was not operating a commercial motor vehicle or as a common carrier for business or for profit or in the furtherance of a commercial enterprise, I will be.
This exchange perfectly captures the sovereign citizen mindset. The defendant isn't actually confused. He's intentionally reframing legal language to create an argument where none exists. In person versus propria persona is not a legal loophole, it's semantics. The judge makes that crystal clear by relying on decades of real-world legal practice instead of internet theories. That what's especially telling is how confidently the defendant corrects the court, as if discovering Latin words somehow overrides statutory law. This confidence is common and dangerous because it convinces people they're protected when they're actually walking straight into convictions. The judge doesn't raise her voice, doesn't mock him, and doesn't lose patience. She simply states reality and moves on. That's judicial authority.
Under the Uniform Commercial Carriers Code as adopted by the state of Kansas, you are charged just as a motorist operating a motor vehicle. Again, not a commercial vehicle. These are not laws that are subject to the commercial code or to the administrative regulation that you referred.
Although you mentioned the word operating, operating is a term used for the furtherance of a commercial enterprise, or driving, operating, the physical use or furtherance of for-profit business or for compensation.
It may under the commercial code, but not under the code otherwise.
It is under Kansas, correct?
It is not under Chapter 8 of the Kansas statutes or Chapter 40, which are filed under. But we can address that at a later date at a trial or a motions hearing if necessary. But I do not see the statutory language that you're addressing being applicable to these statutes, at least preliminarily at this hearing.
It
I
is
don't,
within, sorry,
okay,
go ahead.
that's my ruling there. And then on the name issue, I am not tracking you there. The only difference I see is that at the top of the document, state of Kansas and your name are capitalized, and in the initial or in the individual charges, it's traditional capital letter of the first name, all lowercase of the remaining names throughout. So I'm not following that argument. Again, if you want to readdress that at a later date, we can, but I'm just not seeing that argument.
Okay.
Now
Well,
then,
I motion and move this court to dismiss this case for the motion I have filed and for the brief in support of motion to dismiss for lack of jurisdiction.
sir, I do not have any such motion or brief in support. Mr. Regier, have you received any such?
Listen carefully as the charges are read, because this is where the sovereign citizen narrative completely collapses. These are not commercial charges. This is not about trucking law, commerce, or DOT numbers. This is basic motor vehicle law, driving without a license, driving an unregistered vehicle, and failing to provide proof of insurance. Judges often go out of their way to explain consequences at this stage, not to threaten, but to educate. The judge even gives him an out on the insurance charge if he can provide proof. That's fairness. That's due process. But sovereign citizens often interpret this as weakness or an invitation to argue, instead of an opportunity to help themselves. This is where we start seeing the gap between internet
motion is properly brought before the court. Unless the court is aware of something that I am not aware of.
Well, that's what I'm trying to decide, if it's properly before the court. Mr. Dubois, who did you file the motion and brief with?
Well,
Or did
seeing
you-
as your guys' e-file is down for
Mhm.
what is it? It's called a ransom malware or something. I cannot e-file, and
Right,
so
but you can mail it, or you can walk it into the clerk of the court. Have you done that?
yes, I've mailed it by email,
But-
which a
And I'm
court
sorry,
clerk
when I,
said I could.
okay, go ahead, please. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you're fine. It was by email, which the court clerk said I could, considering the e-file was down.
All
And I
right.
can't really go 20-something miles to do that, considering my personal property was stolen.
You serious?
Judge,
When did you
to-
email it, sir? When did you email it?
A while ago.
Judge,
Yeah.
Yes.
we do not accept emailed filings, only faxed or by mail or person.
Okay,
I'm
I was
sorry.
told that they do not have fax, so I could not do that. So email would be okay.
He may have called the wrong courthouse then.
They
Which-
spent 10 minutes finding my case because your guys' system was down. So I'm fairly
recall
certain it was
which-
the correct one.
Okay, do you recall which you filed, or which court you called?
Let me go to my sent. T Stafford at bucokansas.com.
I think that might be at the county courthouse, not the district courthouse.
Okay. So
Is it? Okay.
if you want to file something, sir, let's make sure you file it in a fashion that will get it officially recognized. So Ashley, how do you suggest he file motions and the like?
He will either need to mail us a copy of it or he can fax file.
And is your guys' fax active?
Yes, it has been the whole time.
Okay.
It's
And
not affected, yes.
what's the fax number?
Our fax number is 316-321-9486.
Okay. And my honor, I have one last question. For the nature and cause of these charges, is it a criminal or is it a civil matter?
This is a criminal matter.
Okay, as is a criminal matter, there are two jurisdictions which I may be tried. One is the common law, and the other is a military tribunal. Which of those two do you intend to try me in?
I intend to try you in this one, sir.
Which is this one? Please elaborate.
The criminal one.
Well, criminal has two jurisdictions. It is either the common law or it is the military tribunal.
Well, sir, we're not going to go into that at this point.
Are you refusing to acknowledge to me and tell me the nature and cause of the charges?
I have told you the nature and the cause of the charges.
You are not elaborating.
I think the remaining issue, sir, is whether you're going to hire.
And there it is, the holy trinity of sovereign citizen arguments: traveling not driving, private motor carrier, and exemption from commerce laws. This speech has been recycled endlessly across courtrooms, YouTube videos, and internet forums. The problem? It's completely wrong. Traffic laws apply to everyone operating a motor vehicle on public roads. Full stop. You don't need to be engaged in commerce for licensing and insurance laws to apply. Courts have ruled on this repeatedly in every state for decades. What makes this moment especially painful is the defendant's confidence. He genuinely believes this argument works because it's never been challenged in.
Sir.
Again, I'm not representing myself. I am sui juris in proper persona or propria persona.
So you're not going to have an attorney, or are you?
No, I'm not going to be presented or represented by any British agent, registrant, or anybody else to be a ward of the state. I'm standing on my rights and I do not abrogate them. And if you're going to continue to move this court without any sort of evidence, well, I guess I'll have to file that. But
We're going to set your hearing. How do you want to plead to the charges first? Then, if you don't want to have an attorney, how do you want to plead to no valid driver's license?
My honor, are you attempting to administer the trust without permission and consent?
I'm asking you for your response. I'm giving you the chance to respond. Do you want to plead to this charge or not?
My honor, I don't make any pleas as I am appearing in propria persona, and any plea would submit jurisdiction to the court. I am here challenging jurisdiction under the common law as I am owed the law of peace. And this is a fraud action as fraud in the inducement from the beginning under due process violations from Deputy Khalid Barake and the other officers or sheriffs that were on scene. And if you're attempting to administer the trust without consent of myself, the living man, the grantor, in common law, which is above Admiralty Maritime Law, then you will be in violation of Article 3, Section 2, the trial of all crimes, except in case of impeachment, shall be jury, and such trial shall be held in a state where said crime shall have been committed, but when they are not committed with any state, the trial shall be at such place or places as the Congress may by law have directed. And as there is a difference between the Republic State Kansas before the state of Kansas was brought into the Federation of the Union of States. And you will also be in violation of on, I'm getting it real quick. 18 U.S. Code sections 2381, treason. Whoever owing allegiance to the United States, the corporation.
This is one of the most important moments in the hearing. The judge doesn't just reject the argument. She explains why it doesn't apply. She distinguishes commercial code from motor vehicle statutes and clarifies jurisdiction in plain language. This isn't dismissal, it's education. Judges do this for the record. They want it clear that the defendant was heard, understood, and corrected. This eliminates future claims of bias or denial of due process. Notice how she repeatedly invites him to raise